When were you born? When were you born?
When was I born?
When were you born?
Oh, it's 1921.
1921, wow, okay. What was childhood like back then?
The complete thing is lack of cars. Everything, the roads, if there was usually horses, even in the 20s, right up to the mid-30s. For instance, mid-30s, the dust carts were all on the horses. And we've got the shoes from the old council on the back there, on the patio, which we used to pick up, because we were all picking up, and all the carts were horses. The butcher had a horse and cart, the greengrocer horse and cart.
Really?
The milkman, everything was horses. And the roads, for instance, a lot of these roads weren't tarmac like they are now. They had some sort of surface, but they were very dusty, and so in the summer a water cart came along, spraying water to keep the dust down. Yeah. All the fuel was all coal, and therefore that's why every house has got in the porch there a hole where you could, and we've still got 2 tons of coal in the cellar. But and my parents converted it into a reinforced concrete shelter. People's entertainment was done locally. I mean, the number of cinemas we had locally, there was one at Lee Green, there was one at Hither Green, cinemas, that sort of thing. People's sport, for instance, the number of tennis courts locally, I mean, were quite a number. And you used to see, since people didn't walk to everywhere, there you would see them going off with their tennis rackets to the tennis courts round the corner, you see. When I first bought the car in 1940, 45, 46, immediately after the war, I was about the only one with a car.
Really?
There was somebody, a posh person up the road with a chauffeur, but apart from that, there was very few people with cars.
Yeah.
For shopping, I mean, for instance, you can't believe that here, there is at the end of the road, there used to be 8 shops. 4 were demolished in the war. I was the air raid warden at the start of the war before I went to the services. I bombed there. And over there is another 6 or 7 shops. So just round the corner, there was, just round the end of the road, the dairy, a newsagent, a chemist, a laundry, a butcher's, a grocer. So all the shops that you needed were there. Over there, the same sort of thing with a greengrocer and a butcher, what do you know. So therefore, the shops, even just for the women who went out each day, they were only just around the corner shopping. At Lee Green, here's an example, there was Roberts, quite a big grocers. There was Sainsbury's, there was Cave Offspins, there was Meadow Dairy, there was Home and Colonial. All these, and some of the names you reckon, like Sainsbury's, Home and Colonial was even bigger than Sainsbury's.
Really? Okay.
And Meadow Dairy, you know, and Lipton's, perhaps you've never heard of Lipton's.
They do tea,
Lipton's tea, if you go abroad, you find Lipton's. Yeah. There were dozens of these places, you see. The greatest thing living here is the fact that the work was here. People, oh no, up the road, for instance, was a big Chiltonian biscuit factory, which is now a lot of different shops, not little wholesalers and things like that, and storage place. Right. But there was a biscuit factory, so all the people in those smaller houses down the other end, the women all worked in the biscuit factory. If you go to Lee Green, there was 1 or 2 or 3 engineering works, and where Sainsbury's is now, there was a pop factory making lemonade, a piano factory, so many that I could locate it, that these factories were employing people locally. I mean, a lot of people, office people, went up to town. No doubt about that. But a lot of working people were able to work locally. Another big centre was Woolwich, which was really the motorcycle centre. They talked about it being in Birmingham, but these won't mean anything much to you. Matchless, HAS, motorcycles were made in Woolwich. Also the Woolwich Arsenal, making all the guns, employed thousands of people. If you look at the fire engines, the whole of London were made by Merryweathers. They still somewhere in the Midlands make some, but Merryweathers made fire engines virtually for the world in Greenwich.
Really? Okay,
Yes,
I didn't know that.
using Dennis, which still makes some buses, some engines, Dennis fire engines and Leyden fire engines. Again, they were the amount of people working in Greenwich, also at the shipyards, all the way along the Thames, Huon's Wharf. You know, West Ham was built from the Thames Irons Works, which were just across the river. Or they were all factories. So people were travelling, a lot of people travelled this way rather than that way.
Yeah.
What is now, for instance, Penfold's repair shop was where they made London buses. Thomas Stillings was one of the very big independent bus companies. The other was the General, and Thomas Stillings made their buses in Lee and in Lewisham and in Peckham. So we had bus makers. What about James Young Rolls Royces? Have you ever heard of James Young Rolls Royces?
No.
The Rolls Royces before the war. No, that's wrong. Rolls Royces up till about the 1960s.
Yeah.
All Rolls Royce did was they made the chassis and the engine and the wheels, and then they went to independent people to design the coachwork, the high class. Well, Bromley, for instance, they made James Young Rolls Royces, which were top notch. And so you imagine the number of skilled people. Hither Green was the centre for marshalling yard for the railway. And so therefore all the steam engines and the yards were at Hither Green. So therefore lots of men live round about Hither Green Station, would be drivers, firemen, cleaners the railway carriages, repair, again jobs for locally.
Yeah.
The day before motorways and development, the Lehigh Road, Lewisham, was the main road to the coast, right? Whether you want to go to Dover or Folkestone or whatever from London, that was the main road.
Okay.
So therefore, you would have along that road all the time, even up to the 60s and 70s and 80s, you would get coaches from all parts and lorries from all parts. You would get Irish lorries coming through, which normally would the M25 would come through Lee Green, you see. And that was the road also where the tram system, where they trammed going right through to central London from there, shilling a day. Lee Green was always a kerfuffle because the trams came and they had to take the pole down from the wires overhead and slide a shoe underneath the tram so that it could go on to London.
Really?
So that all happened outside the fire station. You see,
When did they get rid of the tram system?
1952 they got rid of the tram system. Because the point is this, it was so dangerous with the cars.
Right.
People getting off the trams in the middle of the road.
Right.
And the most terrible thing was always at New Cross Gate.
Yes,
of course, Goldsmiths, you do. Well, there was that bus garage there, was the tram depot for this area. And then the trams would be finishing their shift and stop. And then before they could get in to go into the thing, there'd be 2 or 3 other trams getting behind them. So you get a blockage of trams.
Really
and so it's all about traffic jams. The traffic jams today are nothing like you see in London.
Really?
They're far worse in the 60s. Oh yes! There's so much to change.